Okay, and the recording has begun. So again, just like in our last WebEx last week for SRM, you have all received a credentials Excel, right, with your name here, also the user, the password, and the training environment you're supposed to log into. Just like we did for SRM, you're supposed to add or change the training environment. Okay, the password is still Umoja144, and these are your particular user names, right? So make sure you use each one of these. I'm going to be using this one. Hello? Okay, remember when you log into the WebEx, just remember to mute yourself, or I'll do it myself here, unless there's a question you'd like to ask. Okay, thank you. So I'll be using this username, as I was saying before, 2130TRNGID, which is the one I'll be using to create the exercise. And this is the one you'll have to be sending the email to with the exercise. And I'll explain that as we go through the WebEx session. Okay, so first things first, let's log into the training environment. Okay, I'm sure you're all very familiar with this. And now remember that we were using this icon here, the Umoja Non-Production Portal Systems for SRM, and now for ECC we're going to be using this one, SAPKey. Okay, at no point are we going to be using Umoja Production, okay, and we're not going to be using this one any longer. All right, so only SAPKey. Just like in the instructions in the PDF, you click on SAPKey and you launch Citrix. Okay, in my case, it launches here at the bottom left. We'll wait a couple of seconds, hopefully, or maybe a full minute. We'll see. Okay, it's already launching. Very good. So it's working pretty fast this morning. Okay, one of the very first things, as explained here in the PDF that I sent to you, right? The way to log in to the training environment, skip to Citrix, click on SAPKey, as we are following here. And then once you launch Citrix, what's important, right? Just following these instructions or doing exactly what I'm doing now. Here, we're selecting 3.1, Umoja Training ECC, okay? Just like it said in the PDF here, Umoja Training ECC. And we double click on it. And this is our first login page. And here's where it becomes very important that you pay attention to the top section where it says Client. Okay, let's mark this right here. This is what it's important. Okay, you see here it says 510. Here it should say 520. This is the first thing we're going to change. And then your the one that I provided in the Excel, okay, the one you'll be using right here, and the password that we have here. Even if you see the stars here, and this has happened before, even if you see that something looks like it's typed here, there's nothing there actually. Just the password field looks like that all the time. Let me just make sure. I believe somebody is unmuted in the chat and I can hear them in the background. Okay, so remember, if you can just mute yourselves, fine. If not, I'll do it myself, because I do hear some background noise. And here you go. Okay, no, back again. All right, thank you. Okay, so the first thing you do is change 510 to 520. If not, the credentials I provided will not work. Now, a quick little trick that I'll start teaching you with ECC is if you're already using the system, let's say during the day, or you're using the training environment, if you click on the space bar when you're in a field like this one, it'll provide you with all the historical, let's say, not at least the last 10 digits or letters or numbers that you've added into a field. See, in this case, these are the ones I've been using, so they're all still there. So I can use this as my username. Remember, if you are Jacqueline or Jamal, you'll be using this one, 2102TRNGID. In my case, I'm using the one that is 2130. And then in the password, again, capital U, Moja144. And that's how you will log into this training environment. If you're having any trouble logging in, make sure that you're in int 520 and not 510. as indicated. Okay, I believe that's quite easy. All right, so that covers at least the part of the login to the ECC training environment of what we just did. We changed our client, we used our user and password, and now we're logged in. So this part is also in the email, so just follow it if you're having any trouble, or you can always email me or intervene in this WebEx session. Next thing is this PowerPoint that I also shared with you in PDF format, that is ECC reporting navigation. As we may not have time to cover a lot of the things in terms of navigation for ECC, you have this nice PDF that explains some of the most important parts of creating variants, for example, or filtering, or just simply navigating ECC. You can go through this PDF when you have some time. We're going to cover most of this because the exercise covers most of this as well, but at least you have this to study later on or to perform the exercise. Okay, and the exercise was also sent in the email, and it looks like this one. We're going to be using this exercise as a guide today as well. Okay, so before I get started, just to make sure everyone's with me, any first initial questions, you can write it in the chat or just speak up. If not, we'll get started with the step-by-step of ECC navigation. Okay, no questions, so I'll move on. And I believe also everyone can hear me because by now someone would have mentioned it in the chat. Perfect. So the first thing we do here is run T-code FMRP. This is the T-code we're going to be using, and this is the T-code that will be used during the entire exercise. Now, of course, you can use other T-codes, but no matter what T-code you use, and let's go back to here, ECC. Let's say, for example, here, I'm going to just paste this one. If I use this T-code or any of the other ones that are here, right, all of them will allow you or give you several options in terms of navigation, creating variants, filtering options. Not all the screens look identical. They look very similar, but some will offer different options. Like some will allow you to create a graph, others won't. Some will have an ECC analysis, others won't. Yet there's different ways of displaying the options in ECC depending on the T-code, and there's also ways that you can have ECC display an option that doesn't seem to be there initially. So the first thing we'll do is use this T-code. Click Enter, and it'll take us to this screen here. And this is where it becomes important to understand the difference between a variant and a layout. Those are the two terms that I want to make sure that are pretty clear. So first thing is that you understand that this first screen, as soon as you put a T-code in, this is what we would call a variant, right? Which each of these fields is already here by default. The system prompts these fields with also these multiple selection icons that you're familiar with already from SRM. But every field here belongs to a variant that is linked to this T-code that we just used and we put up here. Okay. Actually, if you realize at the bottom right of my screen, you also have the chance to see what T-code you are on. In this case, the username you're under, and I'll teach you now how you can change that as well. But this bar at the bottom here becomes quite important. If it's closed by any chance, you see the arrow is facing right here. If it's facing left and it's all the way at the right corner, just click on it and it'll display this bottom. And you'll see that you'll be able to either see what user you're using or what T-code you're on. So you can see that right now. Let's go back in here. Okay, in this case, let me close this. I'm trying to get down here, but I can't. Let's see, let's open that. There you go. Okay, so if I click on this arrow, we'll see all this quite important information. First, the transaction you're on, which is the T-code that you're on. So you always wonder, sometimes in ECC you can start clicking around one place or another and it takes you to different transactions, but you don't even realize that. So it's good to always have, for example, what I do here is I select transaction, and no matter what T-code I'm on, I always know which one it is right by looking at the bottom here. So that's quite important. In this case, we also can use the user, the client, system, program, but the most important, I think, or the most useful one is using the T-code. So when you start double-clicking on fields and navigating through ECC, you're not lost. All right, so let's say that this was completely cleared of information. Okay, let's say that 0 doesn't matter. So let's say there's absolutely no information here. And we'll leave the 500 there just in case so I don't forget later. Right, so this would be your variant, and this would be a variant with nothing populated on. Let's say this was the default of a variant. But you come to work every day on Monday, and you're supposed to do, let's say, the same type of work from 8 to 9:30, right, which is to pull a report from this T code, and this specific T code. And, you know, it's not interesting to keep typing every day you come in, and you want to, you know, let's say, type all these fields, and they're always the same information, and all you're changing is, for example, the date, right? So there's a way in ECC to have this populated, pre-populated with all the data you need. So every time you run this T code, all you have to do is execute. And that's what we're going to learn now, to create your own variant so that it's always there, and every time you log into this T code or whichever one you use every day, all you have to do is just click on execute instead of retyping all the data over and over and over. Okay, something that's very important here is that if you realize a lot of these fields don't have anything in them, they're just blank fields. But then when we get to these at the bottom, where it says fiscal year period, there's a check mark in each one of these. This will mean that they have to be populated. The other ones are optional, but these fiscal year period, the dates that you're going to add here are required. Every time you see a check mark in ECC, it means it's required. The others, not. Right, so that's one of the first things we're going to learn here. Okay, also, the fact that you have in ECC a number of fields, as we've seen here. Oh, I don't want that one. Hold on one second. All right, I'm trying to find my annotations bar here. Okay, perfect. So, as I said, we have our fields here, but also, if you realize, you have a number of other icons here that are very useful, and then at the top you'll have a navigational menu as well. You have these here, and also right here at the top that we're going to be looking at, also options that you can use in ECC. So we have these fields here, and right away we have a number of other fields, which is fields for program documentation. We have here icons like dynamic selection. We have here get variant and our execute button, and we'll get to that one in a second. But if you check at the top, we also have a navigational menu. It may not be that important right now before we actually execute a T code, but once we are in the T code and we've executed it, you'll see how these options allow us to go and navigate a little deeper and further into a T code. Okay, so let's go back to our exercise now that we've seen the basics of what is a variant and what the, let's say, the prompt screen in ECC looks like. Let's see what's the first thing we're going to do here. We're going to create our variant. That's the first thing we're doing. And that means we're going to create a variant that's going to be there every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning. Every time I go to work from 8 to 9:30, I have to do this repetitive task. So I'm going to start saving time. And to do that, I'm going to create my own variant. First fund I'm going to add is fund 20 BLA. So let's go back to our screen here and look for fund. Okay, it's right here. And we can either type it in. See, in this case, it already shows that I have used these before. So if it already displays, you can just click on it, and it's there. Again, if you usually type in the same information in these fields, you just click on the space bar, and it's there as well. So our first will be fund 20 BLA. Now you see, we have a matchbox here as well, as we saw in SRM. Very important. If we click on it, let's say that let me go back one second. Let's say that I don't know this fund by heart, right? But I know that it belongs to Brindisi. So maybe you don't know it by heart to write 20 BLA, but you do know a name. So you can see when you click on the matchbox, it displays a number of tabs with a number of their own particular fields that you can perform a search in. It works the same as we learned with SRM, right? Once you open the matchbox, it's kind of like a new search engine somehow, if we want to say it like that in a simple way. Where we can see add the budget period, the fund, and all these fields are simply to search for the fund itself here. So maybe, see, you search using name, be a customer. If you click on this box all the way at the end, you'll see all the tabs available without having to go here one by one. In this case, even some of the tabs will take you, you see, to a different screen, which has done right now. So let's go back one second, close here. And here we go. Let's click on the matchbox again. And now we have, all right, sometimes this will do it, okay? This is actually important. This tab that we selected that says search using classification now has created, let's say, a sort of a pattern that instead of allowing me to view the screen I saw before with the tabs, now it's displaying it like this. So I'm going to say using name, and you'll see how, see, now this one looks more familiar. Sometimes it happens that you select a tab and it takes you to a completely different screen. So be careful with that. All right, so let's say here we wanted to use, for example, let's say here, DC, let's say if that works, or if we knew the name, in this case, no values for this selection. So, okay, fine. Let's use Unimid, and let's click on Enter. So you see in this case, just by writing Unimid, it took me to the fund 20 SKB, which is Unimid's fund. So of course, when you have to write the name, it's the name of the mission itself, not the name of the city. Okay, so you realize here, 20 SKB belongs to Unimid, and you say fine, you click on the check mark, automatically it will populate the fund with that one. So you don't really need to know the fund by heart or the details by heart, as long as you know the mission name. So maybe if I put here UNLB, see, same thing happens. It takes us now and it says UNLB, Logistic Base Brindisi, 20 BLA. So here you go. That's why these matchboxes are very useful in ECC. There are tons of ways of finding your information without actually having to know it by heart. By clicking on the matchbox and going through the tabs, or clicking on this box here to see which one works for you, right? Attributes, customer, budget period, etc. First thing is our fund. Let's see what else the exercise wants us to do. Budget period, P16, and then it goes down to fiscal year. Okay, so let's see, budget period, P16. We go back, we look for our budget period, and again, we can work with our matchbox, or we can simply type here P16. Okay, let's go back to our exercise and see. Now it says fiscal period 2015 July, 2015 August. And realize here at the bottom how it says all the time, do not execute the T code, right? If you execute the T code, it's just going to execute with the information that you have added so far. And in this case, we're not executing the T code all the way until the end. Okay, so we have it here. Let's add 2015 July. And here, correct? Let's see if I already have it. See, 2015, in this case, July 7th. And what else does the exercise tell me? 2015 August. Okay, perfect. So we'll do the same here, and August. So in this case, I'm simply looking from July to August in 2015. So it shouldn't take too long for the system to actually execute this. But before I do, as it says do not execute, I have for now my fund, my budget period, my fiscal year, and my month here. Perfect. So I've done the first part of creating a variant. I've inserted fund, budget period, fiscal year period. I'm not executing the T code, and I go down to the next part of the exercise, that is add multiple selections. And let's see how useful or important that is and what it means. Okay, so insert the following funds. Minusta, MONUSCO, so we have a number of them. Okay, so I'm simply going to copy this one. And now in this case, it means funds. So what it's trying to tell us is that instead of just adding one fund here, we want to search for various funds, and we want to add various funds here too. I can't do it through the matchbox. The matchbox only allows me to search in more detail or using different search terms, like a name, for example. But if you look here, we have the multiple selection arrow. And pay attention to this. Right below the arrow, it's clear. That means there's no multiple selection information added. If we select it, it'll display a screen that says here single values, 20 BLA. We can select ranges. We can exclude values, meaning whatever I add in this tab, if it's say exclude values and I added here 20 SKB, then I would exclude, all my results would exclude this mission, which is Unimid in this case. Okay? It would exclude this selection. Whatever I add here is going to find not only for 20 BLA and Brindisi, Logistic Base Brindisi, but any other fund I add here. So now again, can I just add Minusta here? Shouldn't be the case because I'm adding here 20 BLA. I'm adding the code here. So instead of doing that, again, we have another matchbox here in this field that we can click on. And again, using your name, You can search by name, click on the check mark, and now you have the fund for MINUSTA. And you can do that for every single one, 20 BLA, 20 HSA. If you know it by heart, you can just type it in. But if you don't, you see how useful it is to use the matchbox to find your fund by mission name. See, MONUSCO, click on the check mark, and here we go. Now, I know this may look easy or repetitive for some of you that are that have quite some experience in ECC, but for those who do not, and actually surprisingly, a lot of people don't know all the options and all the different things you can do with ECC, right? So right now we're already telling the system that we're going to search for not only 20 BLA, but for 20 HSA, 20 NUA, and we're doing this by using all the possibilities, right? Of course, we can just type it in, as we can do here, or we can simply use the matchbox to add more information. So here we go. Now, UNFICIP, I'm saying 20 CUA, and I'm saying that because if actually you do your exercise and you add it here, and you use the name and search using name, and you click on the check mark, you'll see two of them, right? So to make life easier for you, I added that you just should select 20 CUA. So in this case, if you wanted to, you could have simply delete this and add it here. And that's already there for you. So you can save time on that. Then we have MINUSCA and we have UNIMID. Okay, so those will be our last two. Okay, and now to be honest with you, we added tons of them, but the results, since we're going to be only adding the results to, limiting the results to 500, even if I put here 500 missions, it's only going to give me the results back for 20 BLA probably. Okay, so what I did is use the matchbox to search every fund by mission name, right? So you see that you learn that even if you don't have all the information you need, ECC allows you to search further, right, using the matchboxes. And in this case, we're using the multiple selection to be able to search for more than one fund. Okay, then all you have to do is click on OK. And now you see it still says 20 BLA here, but now the arrow underneath it, it's green. That tells you that the multiple selection is actually populated. If you click here, you see they're still populated here. So now we know in this case, this one is populated. All right, so we already did the multiple selection for the missions, and we'll go down to the dynamic selections, and we'll see what that is in ECC. And before that, let's see, everything that's in our initial screen here we've used, right? Every time there's a matchbox, you can select it and search further. If there's multiple selection, you see here, we can add several budget periods. We can add several grants, but for example, the fiscal year period does not have a multiple selections arrow. Yeah, there's a lot more use for this, but right now we're just going to limit it to this. And we're going to go down to see the dynamic selections and what that is. Dynamic selections is this icon here at the top. Hold on, let me mark it for you. It's this one right here. Okay, if you just put your cursor over it, it will say dynamic selections. And what this does, when we click on it, see, it prompts a number of folders here that allow you to search for new fields that you're going to be adding to your variant here at the bottom. So let's say if I click on the arrows here, I unfold, and all you can see is a number of names. See, value type, item, FM document number, amount type. So let's go back to, we saw the matchbox and we say, you know what, I don't know the fund exactly, but I can search by name. See, search using name. Well, let's say you can't find any of the fields here that are useful for you, right? None of these. Let's say the fund is not useful for you because you don't know it. You don't even know the name of the mission or the budget period or the date. So what do? In dynamic selections, and not all T codes offer this option here, but the ones that do will allow you to search for other fields that are not there in your variant and add them to your search. For example, in this case, what we're doing is inserting reference number and authorization group, both found under FM area folder. Okay, so let's see what that means. The folder FM area is this one. I unfold it, and now what I'm going to look for is the name reference number. So all you have to do is scroll down until you can find reference number here. And here it is, reference number. So just double click on it, and you see now we have a new section with another field called reference number. That will allow us also to add a multiple selection and in this case, there's no matchbox for this one. Okay, there's another field that we want to add is authorization group. Okay, so here we go, authorization group, double click, and now we have two new fields. We can close this. Okay, so we have here FM area, reference number, authorization group, that you can either add the information here or click on the multiple selections. In this case, we're not adding any more information. I just wanted to show you what the dynamic selection does. So let's say you do have a reference number. You can just add the reference number field, add your reference number here, for example. Click on execute, and the document will return that reference number exactly. That search you're looking for exactly, even if you don't have a fund or a budget period or the correct dates. Okay, so now you know that the dynamic selections will allow you to add more information, more fields to search by. Okay, so far we have seen we're starting to create our variant. Okay, we haven't created it yet. We've learned how to add the funds, how to search by name, which ones are the required fields, in this case the dates. We learned about the multiple selection arrow and the dynamic selections, which is to add new fields into our variant. And in this case now here it says save variant. Okay, so we're going to save our variant and create it right now. So if this is me every morning now, every morning I am going to have to look for all these funds that I have here in my multiple selection, all this information for this budget period, for these dates. Now maybe you may think, okay, but every morning I have to come in and change the date here instead of August, or I have to change it by week, or maybe every month I have to come in and change it, but it's a lot less work. And trust me, the more you learn to use this, the better it'll be. Let me check the chat quickly, see if there are any questions here. Why did it say selections not accepted at the bottom left corner? Okay. Okay, well that's probably because I've clicked, I think I clicked on OK here, and there's nothing added, but I haven't executed yet. The system is probably telling me that, of course, I haven't added any information here, so it's telling me that it's not valid, it's not accepted, the data that I've added there. Okay, and after you enter the funds. Okay, well, a lot of the times ECC will prompt some error messages, or will tell you something is not okay before you're even done, because you may be clicking on enter, you may be clicking on something. I think in this case I clicked on the copy selected, but don't pay too much attention to this, especially if the answer here is not red. Once you have a red error, that means that whatever you're typing in here is wrong. But as long as it's either yellow or green, you can still move on. Okay, so this case we have all the information we need. Now we're going to save the variant. Now if you see here, you have the icon that says get variant, but in this case we don't want to get a variant, we want to save it, we want to create it. This would mean that if you click on this icon, you're getting a variant that you've saved in the past. You can save more than one and use them. So we have to go to here, go to variants, and now we have get, display, delete, and save. All right, so the first thing we do here is save as variant. And what we're going to be saving is exactly what we see on the screen right now with all the data populated there. We're going to save our variant so that every time I use this T code and I select that variant, this is what's going to show up. So I'm clicking on save variant. It takes us to this new screen here. Variant name. Well, in this case, I may just call it, see, I've done plenty of these. I'm going to call it Brian Test and ECC Navigation as a description. So of course you add the variant name you want, either your mission, your name, maybe something that reflects what it is, maybe budget period or monthly, weekly, whatever it is you want to add as your name. And the exercise, or for the sake of an exercise, what I'm telling you is to do variant name, your name, and description, your last name. Okay, so if we want to do it exactly the same, we could always use my name here and then my last name here. And this is what you would have to do for your exercise. Okay, now what's important for you for the exercise is just this, but just so you can pay attention to the bottom here, and let me mark that as well for you guys. This bottom section here will allow you, and this in your own time, because we don't have enough time to go through this. If you see here, we have protected field, hide field here. We also have save field without values in this case. Can save that one here. Okay, well, all these names here with all these check marks, you can play around with your variant as much as you want. Like if I say here, hide field for FM area, this field will not appear later on. It'll be sort of invisible, right? Let's say we can also hide our fund. But instead of doing that, maybe what I want to do is the fund field, make it a required field. And now this field will now have a check mark in it the next time you go in. So you can you're interested in having and the ones you're not. For example, you want to make the required field a fund center. You can do that as well. Right now, this one has nothing selected, or at least not here. If we scroll down, you can see if there's anything predetermined here. And you see, yes, hide field. You have these fields that are hidden already in this variant. So you can manage this and play around with this. I'm not going to touch this a lot, but at least you know how this works. These are the actual fields that are in your variant, and you can either protect them, hide them, or make them required, as you wish. You can protect your variant, meaning that no one else can use it. If you click on these three check marks here, only for background processing, protect variant, and only display in catalog. If you protect your variant, nobody else will be able to use it. Only you, okay? And only display in catalog will also change the display options. But in this case, all I want to do is save Brian Baracina as my variant, and so you guys can see what I've just done. I'll click on save. And it says, okay, protected by T109 TRNGID. Okay, so does that mean any one of you is using this and creating the same one as I am at this moment? Probably. Let's see. Let me just change this. Let me see if I can save it with a different name. Okay, so somebody's probably logging in. Is somebody logged in as 2109? No, because it doesn't seem I'll be able to. If you guys are doing the same thing I'm doing, I don't think I'll be able to.
Lilian.
Lily, are you using it? Would you mind? Okay. All right, because at this point I won't be able to save my variant. Okay. Still. Okay. Well, give me 1 second. All right, so I'll keep trying this. If by any chance whoever's using 2109 can just log out, I will be able to save the variant. Let me just see if I can test another name here and call it Daniel in this case. Okay, here you go. All right, perfect. So do you want to overwrite variant Daniel? So I'll say yes. And here we go. All right, so I just changed the name. So whoever was using that username was using the name exactly as I was writing it, so I wasn't able to save it, okay? But now I've saved it under Daniel, and see at the bottom where it says variant Daniel saved. And now we'll see what that means, right? Let's get out of here and see our screen. We'll go back to the T-code that we were using. And here it's all pre-populated already, but let's erase this so you guys can see exactly what I've been doing here. Okay, we got this out of the way. And if we go here to get variant, you see now all our fields are empty. And I go to get variant. All the ones created by 2130 TRNGID, and I click on execute. It should display the fields. See, in this case there's only one. So the ones that I've created are already here. So let me show that to you again. If I had more than one, it would display more than one, depending on the ones I have created. So let's give it blank again and click on the Get Variant option. We can do the ones created by 2130 TRNGID. Click on Execute, and here we go. We have it. I only created one. Well, let's go here to Go To, Variants, and we go to Display. We're going to see all the ones that this user, which is the one I'm using, actually created, and see if it displays it now. Yes. So you see, it only displays the one I have, which is Daniel. See, I created one Daniel, and all the options that belong to the one I have, all the funds that I added, the budget period, the key dates, and all other information like this one here. The date, see, from period, fiscal year, from period. So all this information belongs to the variant I created. Let's see if there's another way I can display that without adding created by. And yes, see, if I don't add a created by and I just click on get and I click on execute, you can see all the variants that have been created, okay, by anyone who hasn't protected them and use those. See, mine here, Brian Test 2, they're still all here, Valencia Test. Daniel Barra is the one I just created, so if you just select that one and click on OK, it'll also populate your fields here. Okay, so in this case, what we've done is we've created a variant that populates all this information here, and it's called, in this case, it's called Daniel. So far, this part is also done. Say variant, click on Go to Menu, your name, description, last name. Save the variant by clicking on the Save button, and after the variant is saved, execute the T-code. So in this case, the variant is saved and all the data is here. Does anyone have a question on how that was done? Do you want me to repeat anything? Okay, let me just write it in the chat just in case. Okay, don't be afraid to type something if maybe I went too fast. I'm not sure how knowledgeable you are in variants. But since there are no questions, I'll keep going. All right, so that's our variant information. It's there, it's created, and it's saved. And now what I'm going to do is execute. So I can execute this T-code with this information I've provided here. Now, it's not much. It's only a month in 2015, so this shouldn't take long at all. And also, I've limited, see at the bottom here, which says 500, my maximum number of hits to 500. That means that my results, no matter how large they can be, the ECC is only returning 500. Okay, if this happens to you, for example, that it takes way too long because you've made a mistake and you put fiscal year 2015 to 2018, and it just seems to be loading forever and ever because that's a lot of information, and you've taken out your maximum number of hits, there's always a way at the top here at the left. If you click on this icon, you'll see once I click here, execute because this worked. If you click on this icon, you would have a stop transaction option that you can click on, and that will stop the loading, so you can start over again. That's just for your information. All right. So once I executed the T-code, this is what the report looks like. Let me just scroll that up. And our report looks like this, quite like an Excel. We see some highlighted areas. We see some totals. But this is what the report displays after the variant I added. So I told it, I want this information. This is the information it displayed. But now, this layout may already be edited. This is what we would call a layout. It's the result of your search during the variant. So now it displays this report, but you can already see here, if you look at the top here where you have reference document number or we have a payment budget, you see there's a red triangle on this one, and there's also a symbol here, amount to be checked. That means that there have been already layout additions to this. Somebody has already edited this result. It's probably me before this WebEx session, or it was probably done because of the username. If, of course, you're logging in with your information, this should not be edited. But now, how do I know exactly how much is edited in this document? Your best option would always be to select Change Layout, this icon here. Right here, you have 3 of them that are Select Layout, Save Layout, and Change Layout. Okay, so remember this. Variant is like your search fields, the prompts, what you're telling the T-code to search for. The layout is the results and how you display these results. So if I click on Change Layout, it says layout can only be changed partially, okay, or partly changed. This is going to be one of your favorite icons in terms of playing around with your layout. Again, just SRM, we have 2 columns, displayed columns and column set. Displayed means the ones that you're actually seeing in the report, as you can see here. And column set are those that are not displayed but that you can display. Just like we did with SRM last week, you can select a column, move it to the right if you don't want it, or you can select a column in the right and move it to the left. Whatever's on the left will be displayed, whatever's on the right will be hidden. So all these, reference document number, also the order in which they are there. For example, period. If now I want period to be at the top, I can just move it here with the arrows right there. Now when I click on the green check mark, period, instead of being here in the result all the way over here where it says 7, it'll be the second field. So you can play around with the way you see things. For example, amount type, I want that one to be up top as well. And I probably want the funds management area to be displayed there. See? And here we have our information. Amount type, funds management area, or simply I don't want it. Okay, now next thing. You see this aggregation icon here. It actually means if there's been a total created. In the displayed columns, you can see directly if there's already been a total created just by the check marks. If you scroll up and down, you see that none of these other fields have any of these check boxes. And those that do have it means that ECC will allow you to create a total for these columns. So in this case, these both are amount to be checked, amount to be checked. So that means there's digits to be added. And if I move this over, you can see this column here, payment budget, is added here to 0, and there are some totals here. So we know that this has been totaled. I'm going to take this out as well. So now it's cleared, and you'll see how the difference when I click on the green check mark at the bottom. But let's move on first to the Sort Order tab, and also see that whatever here is on the left means it's sorted, and it's sorted in ascending order. I can change that by selecting it and moving it to the right. Now there's nothing there that is sorted. If I click here on the right and I move it to the left, and I tell it I want it sorted, the next time I click on the green check mark, now it's going to be this column that's going to be sorted. But in this case, I don't want anything, so I take this out. Now I see in the displayed columns, there are no totals. In the sort order, there's nothing sorted. And under filter, same thing, nothing is filtered here. All the columns are on the right. If I want to filter something, I can select it, move it over, double click on it, and then click on the check mark here. Oh, sorry, I sent it back. And then click on the filter option here. And if you click on it, this will tell you, what do you want to filter in amount type? Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit, but just so you see right now, there's nothing filtered. Nothing is in this area, so I'm just going to send this back to the right. See, left column empty, sort order, left column empty, displayed columns, no totals. And the last two, not that important for our WebEx session right now, but we have a view, which is to change the preferred view, which is SAP List Viewer, which allows us to view our results like this, or we can select Microsoft Excel and view it as a part of an Excel format. To me, this is already Excel enough, so I don't really need to change this. And in display, all you change is small things like, for example, the optimized columns, meaning that this is as wide as it can be for you to be able to read it and also see the numbers that are in it, just like you do in Excel when you double click on a line. And with stripped patterns. So if I take this out, the next time I click on OK, you'll see that a lot of these patterns will change. Okay, so I took this out just so you see the difference. Strip patterns out, filter 0, sort order nothing, and displayed columns no totals. You click on the check mark, and now your entire document changes, and there's nothing done to it. Now it's just stripped of all filters, stripped of all totals, by clicking on that icon, which is the change layout icon. In my opinion, and it's very important for you, this is the best icon to click on when you first pull a report to see if there are any filters applied or sorting applied or to display columns or not. It's the best one to use because also you can do things simultaneously. You can filter more than one column at a time. You can sort more than one column at a time. You can add totals and do it all in one shot. There are other ways of doing this, which is manually. You can go column by column, select it, right-click, and also see the options that this allows you to do. For example, hide the column, make it disappear. We'll get to show in a minute. Optimize width, freeze the column, sort in ascending order, set the filter, set a total. So you can do it all directly from here as well by simply right-clicking on a column, selecting it and right-clicking on it. You can do that for all of them. For example, payment budget, if I right-click and I set total, it automatically will set a total for that column without me having to go here to the change layout option. By simply selecting it, let me scroll up all the way, simply selecting it and right-clicking. And if you see, now there's an E sign here, which means it's been totaled already. Okay, let me check the chat really quick. Okay, can you repeat stop transaction? Okay, yes. Let's see. Anything else? Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you, Emil. Yes, question? Okay. All right, so I just read can you repeat the stop transaction point? Sure. Very easily, top left corner, create session, stop transaction right at the bottom. Okay, so if something's loading forever, just make sure you select here and click on stop transaction. All right. And now we go back to editing our fields one by one. If, for example, I don't want the payment budget here, you can click on the field and drag it manually, just like you do with any other application on your cell phone, right? So here we go. Now we have already moved this manually. So you can do it like that, simply, or you can do it with the change layout option. So it's really up to you how you want to manage these columns and filter these options. Okay? For example, fund here, you can also set a filter directly from this column, and you see the filter option appears here for fund. Okay, easily to see how many funds are here displayed, you can click on the matchbox and see that in this case there's only one fund displayed. So even though I added tons of other ones, since I only limited it to 500 results, it's only showing me the 20 BLA, which is the one in Brindisi, not the other ones I added. I could have taken out the 500 maximum hits and it would have displayed more. But to quickly see, for example, this report is very long. Of course, you can always export this to Excel, but you want to see right away how many options you have in this one column. If you click on the set filter, you click on your matchbox, you can always see how many different options you have right here. Fund only one. To see what I'm talking about, let's select a different column. For example, value type here. Let's do the same thing one by one, right? Set filter, click on your matchbox, and it already displays how many different fields you have here. See, so I know that in the column valuation type, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, just by looking at this. And I can select purchase order, click on check mark, and now we have purchase orders here. But what am I telling it when I click on the check mark? That I only want to see here purchase orders, correct? So let's select that. And now, see, our report should only display in this column purchase orders. And you see here, there's a small black filter here in this column. That means that this column is also being filtered. If you check the scroll button here on the right, it's much larger than before, which means there are much less results. Yeah, only purchase orders are displayed. And this was done one column at a time, okay? Clicking and right-clicking and selecting from this option here. You can do it like that, which is quite easy, okay? Moving things around just manually, or you can do it with the change layout option. Let's go back to the exercise to see what else it tells us to do. So we have saved our variant and executed our T-code, and we were looking at a couple of things in terms of changing the layout, right? One was the display. It says here, modify your layout. Clear any previous layout. So we learned how to clear any previous layouts. And how? If you remember, we went to the change layout, and we saw here anything that was selected. For example, you see here there's a total, and what we did was we took everything out. There's nothing sorted, but you see there's something filtered, so we can take it out. And again, we clear our layout. That means nothing has been edited or tampered with. Now it says here display. Select both without horizontal grid lines and without vertical grid lines. Okay, this display button was the one that we saw here in the change layout. and we went to display. And it says here, without vertical grid lines and without horizontal grid lines, right? So we go here, vertical, horizontal, and we have to select them both. 1, 2. Click on OK. And now you see the grid lines have disappeared at the bottom of this report. Let me just make sure, because I think I hear somebody, or somebody's unmuted. Okay, here we go. All right, so now we've taken out the grid lines here as well. So you see, there's small things, but I know that a lot of you do not know how to use this, or some of you do. For those of you who do, sorry, this is very basic for you. For those of you who don't, I'm sure you find it very useful. Okay, then after we've changed the display, it says adding totals and subtotals. It says insert a total in the column payment budget. Okay, so we can go back and we look for the one called payment budget, which is this one. Okay, remember, we can do it in more than one way. We can select the column, right-click, click on total. That's one way. We can select the column, go up here, and add a total. You see where the E is as well. You see these look familiar as well, right? Set filter, tons of other options, right? Create a graph, the ABC analysis. So we can do it several ways. Or we can simply go to the change layout and add the total here in one of these. Okay, so we see it in a different way. I have it selected. I'm going to click on the E, and my column is totaled already. So that part of that exercise is done. To insert a column here, total here, sorry. Now insert a subtotal in the reference document number column, a subtotal. Okay, so how do we do that one? In the reference document number, we go back and we see reference document number is here. Let me just scroll up all the way. Okay, we see there's a total here, but there's nothing edited here. If you go back up, you see now we have a subtotal option because we already totaled one of the columns. Once you total one of the columns, you have a subtotal option here. This option is also available now. If you go back to your change layout, in sort order, you have a subtotal option here as well. So I could always select this document number, push it over here. I can even sort it in ascending or descending, and click here for a subtotal. So you see I can do both, or simply get rid of this, click on X, and here click on subtotal, and now see it's subtotaled by reference document number. So it's up to you how you want to do it, but there's several ways of editing and filtering and sorting in ECC. Okay, so before I go into sorting, which is quite simple, let me check the chat really quick. Okay, is it possible to save this report directly in Umoja in order to see after without export another program? Okay, I think I know what you mean. Let me just check what you can do. And for example, this report, right? We're not done with it. We're still editing the layout, right? Creating subtotals and totals. And now what we don't want to do is export it to Excel. We want to sort of keep it here, right? So that every time I execute this T code, I can come here and then say, I want my report called Daniel, for example. Like I saved my layout as Daniel, I'm going to want to call this layout Daniel as well. So yes, once we're done editing all these fields, what we're going to do is save our layout, okay? So that every time you pull this T code and you execute this T code, you can always pull this exact report with the information filtered the way you want it filtered. But what's even better is that you can actually add this layout into your variant at the beginning. So when you click on the T code and you execute it, this comes out automatically and you don't have to choose the layout afterwards. So let's see how we do that. So that'll be the last step, to save this report or to save this layout. Let's see first our sorting options here. Sort at the same time the columns GL account and reference document number in descending order. Okay, so sorting GL account and reference document number. Perfect. So our reference document number is already sorted, as you see the red triangle here. We can sort again in descending, which the arrow will now face down. That's fine. And now it says that we have to do the same thing with another column, GL account Okay, so we can go around and look for the GL account one and do it manually as well. Let's see. I'm going to do this manually, and I'm going to sort in descending order. But what happens when I do that? I have descending order here, but if I go all the way back to reference document number, the filter is gone, the sorting is gone. So that's what happens when you do it one column at a time. So if you see that again, I can go to sort, and now it's here, but it's gone from here. So how do I manage to get them at the same time? Well, that's when you go to your change layout. You go here, and simultaneously you can sort two columns at the same time. So you see where it says sort order, we select it, and now we see there's only reference document number that is in descending order. And the subtotal is gone here. I can select it, and now I'm going to find the GL account. Here, move it over, and also have that one sorted in descending. So now you see both are sorted and one is subtotal. Sorry. You click on OK, and now you have one triangle here for sorting and descending for GL account, and another red one here for reference document sorting and descending. So to do this simultaneously, your best option is always going to be the change layout option. If you do it one by one, you won't be able to. Every time you sort one, the other one will go at the same time. So the best option is always to add the change layout. And we added the subtotals as well. Okay, so that part of the exercise, sort at the same time these two columns in descending, is clear. All right, I'll check the chat. Repeat the subtotal I'm seeing in the chat. Remember, in the change layout option, the displayed columns allows you to total columns, and the sort order allows you to subtotal the columns. Or you can simply select a column, go up here, and total it or subtotal it with these icons at the top. Next thing, filtering. Okay, and we're almost there. To send the report is our last step, and we're up to filtering. Set a filter for the following columns. Reference document number, using multiple selections, add only these two, perfect. And then for GL account, we're going to exclude something. Okay, fine, so there's quite a bit to learn here. Then before I do this, I'll check the chat because I think there's another question. Okay, can I repeat the subtotal again? Yeah, sure thing. All right, so subtotals. For example, this reference document number, I can select a column here, or let's do the payment budget. Right-click on your mouse, and you can add a total or a subtotal. You can do this manually column by column. Or you can simply select a column, go up to the top here where you can see the display of icons, and select subtotals here or totals here. Okay, if not, you can always click on the change layout option, sort order tab, and here you have your subtotals, and your totals will be in the displayed columns here. Okay, so displayed columns for totals and sort order subtotals. Okay, perfect. And now this one, okay, we have to pay special attention to this one because we could get lost. There's a couple of things here that we're going to do simultaneously. Reference document number, using multiple selections and only these two. Fine. So first, set a filter. Let's go back, and we're going to do this again the easy way, using the change layout. I believe it's much easier, and the more you use it, the easier it'll be for you. We go to filter. There's nothing being filtered right now. The column we're looking for is reference document number. We can push it in here. Fine, that's one. The next one is GL account. Okay, so we can actually do both. You see, if in this case, there's a ton of options. You see the scroll button is very little, and maybe it's not as easy to find as, see, GL account. Oh, I got it right here, right? Sometimes it may be a little more difficult. So you can always use the glasses here, or the goggles, to search for a term. So if I click on the goggles and I say search term, let's say I put G, click on the OK, it says at the bottom here, hit displayed 1. If you see, it found GL account here. You could always click on the X and you find your GL account here. To change it, let's say we want to find vendor. So all you have to add is a V and it'll see vendor here. If there's more than that, you can click on enter again and it'll find the next word with V in it. okay, and so on and so on. And it'll display every time there's a word with a V, it'll display it. See, no further hit found. It only found 3, and the last one was value type. So you can always use the goggles to find what you're looking for. In this case, it was G for GL account. It says 1 hit displayed, but it's posting date. I'm not interested in that. Funded program, name of funded program, and you can go on until you find what you're looking for. Okay? So, see, there's tons of options in this one. The budget period, so you can go on and on and on. In this case, I know where it is, right? I know it was right at the beginning for GL account. I push it in, and now I have 2 options here, but this doesn't mean they're filtered yet. Nothing is filtered until you select it and click on the filter. And now this window displays with both your fields, reference document number and GL account. And here's where you start telling it what you want to filter. The exercise says, using multiple selection, add only, meaning you only want these 2 reference numbers. So we're first going to select this one. And we're adding multiple selection. Okay, so I only want to add 1 here. And back to my exercise, I'll do the same thing for this one here. And click on that. And now we can click on OK. And here we go. We have only 1 reference document number here, but you see the multiple selection is green, which means there's more than 1 option. See, these 2. That means that now when I click on OK, it's only going to filter those 2 numbers. But now it says GL account exclude. So we're in this exercise, 7211 GL account exclude this number. Okay, so we can select it, go back, and now in this case, see, we can do the multiple selection and say exclude single values and say paste it here. Okay, I think I went too far there. Yes, 213. 213. So you see exclude single values for this one is out, and when you select single values is the ones you want. So in this case, we have now, we're telling it, and this is one way of doing it. There's several ways, okay, that you'll learn when you come here with other reports. As you see now, there's a red equal sign here. Okay, so an easier or simpler way to do it would have also been, if you see here at the bottom, there's a sort of a flower here that's called selection options. If you click on it, it tells you if you want to add or not add something. For example, exclude from selection or select, not equal to or exclude from. In this case, it was exclude from. Okay, but all I want you to remember, in this case, what we're gonna do is clear everything that's there, is using the multiple selection. We use it, we do exclude single value, and we add it here. Okay, so again, it's saying no. Now when I click on the check mark, it takes me back to the screen. Now I know these are filtered. I click on the check mark once again, and here you go. See, my report is a lot smaller now than it was before. And now there's only these 2 columns, 1 reference document here with its subtotal, and another reference document number here with its subtotal here, and also the grand total at the bottom. So that was simply by just adding only these 2 and excluding the GL account 7211213. All right, let me check the chat really quick. Okay, so we have here, is there a way to net out debit and credit that result in 0, to have a clean report? Okay, so there's ways around it, but this will get too complicated and I want to finish this exercise. I already think that for people that are not familiar with this, this may already be a lot of information. So that we'll learn when you come here to Valencia. We'll see how we can play around with that, okay, and get out some 0 values and play around with these values. But for now, since we still have to save the layout and then add it to the variant and we only have 20 minutes left, I'm going to go through the exercise, okay? But we'll get to that when you come to Valencia. And that last question in the chat about netting out debit and credit that results in 0, right, to have a clean report. Okay, so our last step here is to save our layout, right? Save layout as mission and name your last name, okay? So let's see how we do that. We saved our variant, now we're saving our layout, right? So how would we do that? In this case, right here, you can save your layout with the icon here. You can select a layout as well, like we did with our variant, or at the top navigational menu here. If you go to you have ABC analysis, delete filter, sort in. So you have more options here as well. List, export. Okay, you have an export here to Excel as well. Layout. See, settings, layout, change, choose, save, and manage. Almost like the variant, it works exactly the same. So we're going to save this layout, and here we're going to save layout and then name, right? So here, UNSBV. Okay, actually, let's make Daniel on this one as well, and here I'll do the same as my variant name. Okay. So I'm saving the layout. I'm clicking on the check mark. Perfect. Layout saved. What does that mean? That now this layout that I just saved is always going to display a report just the way I want it, like this. Okay, that's the last part here, save the layout. And now to see how that works, if I go back here and I do change layout, and I get everything out. I get the totals out, sort order, I get this out as well. So I'm cleaning all my filtering, I'm cleaning everything I just did. Okay, view, display, I'm going to change the display now without the grid lines. I'm going to change it all. Click on OK, the report goes back to what it was originally, right at the beginning. But what I wanted was to save a layout. So I'm going to select my layout again. Okay, we click on the check mark. And now here you can see all the layouts that have been created as well. And the last one here, if you see, is my last one, Daniel Barra here. Okay. If you select it, the entire report changes to the layout that you selected before. So every time, let's say you run a T-code and you have this layout saved, you just select it and it'll edit every single report in the way that you want to. So you can create several layouts. You can create 10 different layouts, right? One in which the reference document number is driving your report, or maybe one in which the payment budget is driving your report. The currency is driving your report. I don't know, the date, whatever you want. You can select different types of them. But you see how quick I just simply went select layout, clicked on the check mark, and selected that one. If by any chance I wanted another one, for example, I don't know, this one here, it should change my display. See, somebody created a layout that was like this, where transaction number is the one driving the report. You'll see some of them are open for anyone to choose, others are protected. You'll see the same cases in BI. Some people have created reports that you can pick and choose from, and they lay out or display your report in a certain way. Let's select another one so you see how this changes immediately. Suresh, for example, that'll change the display. In this case, the reference document number is driving this report. Okay, so this is the way this works. We have created our variant and we have created our layout. But now, even though this is not part of the exercise, because right now it just says send the report to a recipient, I want to show you this very quickly. Now that we've created a layout and we have a variant, I want to teach you to put the layout inside the variant so that when you pull your report, everything comes out automatically. Let's go back out. Okay, we're going to delete all this information here again. Okay, we're back to our variant. And now what I want to do is first select the variant. So I'm going to get it. Remember, get variant, the one created by this user, which is me. And here you go. It's all pre-populated again. But now you see at the bottom here where it says layout. You can select a layout here. See, all the layouts that have been created so far. If you scroll down, you should be able to find, see, Daniel Barra, and we can add it there. So now what I do is I go back to go to variants, save as variant. I keep the same name, and I just override it. It says, do you want to override it? Yes. So now every time I use this variant, the layout in Daniel would already be selected here. So when I click on execute, the report will display exactly as I left it the last time. So the reference document number will lead our report. There will be a total. There will be a subtotal. It'll be sorted in descending order. All the filters will be applied. Everything will be done in one simple execute button. And all you have to do maybe is change the month when you when August is over and you're in September. So this is a lot less work every morning to have to filter every time, to have to create your variant every time. All you do is just click on execute and pull your report for the month. Okay, in this case, it's taking a little bit longer than before. So remember, if you wanted to stop the transaction, you can just do it through here. Okay, click on this icon and do it. But in this case, it's done. If I click on the check mark, see, the layout is already done. So if more reference document numbers appear as the months go by, they will also appear here. But of course, remember, we've only filtered 2 of the reference document numbers. So this wouldn't be the smartest way of seeing how this evolves, only for these 2. Okay, so is that clear, how to add a layout to a variant? So we first had to save a variant. We created it. Then we saved the layout. And then what we did is we combined both together. Okay, so very quickly, let's go back here. Let's delete all this so you see the difference. All this is out, and even the layout Daniel is out. Okay? Nothing's there. I go to get my variant. Yes, this is the user. I click on execute and see the layout Daniel is already there predetermined. So all I have to do is just click on the execute button. Okay, so I believe that's quite clear. Very good. So the last part of the exercise is send the report to a recipient. Send the report internally through ECC to the inbox of the user 2130TRNGID. And this is for you guys. So the exercise should be received like this, like I'm about to do now in ECC, and not through email. All right, so what I want to see is I want to receive an email with this report, practically. That's the idea. And I want to receive it through my SAP inbox, right? The inbox using SAP. So internally through ECC. So we'll check and see how that's done really quickly. It's actually quite easy. Okay, we'll wait for our report to load. I'm going to check the chat in the meantime. Okay, no questions there. We still have another 15 minutes, so this should be more than enough time to run through the email at least once or twice. Okay, so we're back here. And now we have this report, and this is the report we want to send to our managers. In this case, just the one you're sending to the teacher who has just delivered this WebEx. Again, you see the icons here at the top. One of them says here, mail recipient, the one that looks like the old email sending back in Microsoft 99. Okay, so you click on the mail recipient. Okay, and I'll take you to the following screen here. Now, this is what's important for you guys. Actually, it would be very useful if in the title you write here your name and last name, because that's what I'm going to be seeing next to your username. So if your user is 2103 TRNGID, if you put a title with your name, let's say Abdul, let's say Andrea, let's say Brian, I'll be able to see your username and your name. If not, I'll have to check every username individually. So if you do me that favor, it will be very appreciated to add your name next to the title. Okay, here we can just simply say exercise ECC navigation. Okay. And then to who are we sending this to? We can send it directly to an email or to a user. Okay, in this case, we can send it, for example, directly to 2130TRNGID, okay, which is actually this user, 21TRNGID. Okay, so simply to know if it's correct, you click on enter, and the system should double it. See, if it doubles it here, that means that it found the user. So it's going to actually be sending it to this user exactly. So that's all you have to do. Recipient, you type or you paste, sorry, the actual user, which is my own, TRNGID. You click on enter, and that should, see, in this case it already exists, so we can't do it. And that's it. Here, these three icons, the only one you have to worry about in this case, this would be to. This is sending it to. Recipient type, don't even worry about this, but in this case you would have to select the type of recipient if it's an external address, SAP logon name, a business partner, etc. In this case we're not adding anything here. This column would be send as copy, and this column is send as blind copy. All you have to worry about is adding this recipient here, putting your name in the title, exercise, navigation, and then you can click on send. There's also, if let's say you export your exercise to Excel and then you create an attachment and you attach it as an Excel, that's fine, you can do that as well. Okay, but it's much easier to do it like this, and I'm sure you're not that accustomed to doing it like this. Just so you know, you can also add the name of a user and click on enter, see if that one's correct. In this case, it's not. So it says right away it's not correct. And if I did it correctly, it should see, it found Daniel Criado. Now I would be sending this to Daniel Criado's inbox as well, but I don't want to fill them up with exercises, so here you go. We're done. We have the title, the exercise, the user. We click on the email, and that will send this report, this document, to my inbox. Okay, and how is that done? Well, we can go back all the way. See, already it tells me express document received from author, express document from Anna. So see, I received already one of them. Okay, we go back to the beginning, and I can check my inbox here and see in my inbox that I received an email. See, Lucia, Anna, Brian, and Papa from actually the last course. I'm going to open this one from Papa. See, so it says there's an attachment and there's an email. All I do is double click on it. This is how I'm going to be receiving your exercises. Okay, I'm going to be checking it through this email, so don't send it through the other one, all right? And the document journal here, which should display, if it's all working fine, the exercise that the student has done. Okay, here you go, and that's what it looks like. So I can view it directly through SAP without having to go into my Outlook. All right, so for those of you who have already done it, thank you, even though I mentioned that we shouldn't do it while I'm delivering the WebEx, but I see you guys have already done it. Okay, so that's clear, and there's no questions why the system did not double the second name of recipient. Okay, well, it didn't double the second name of recipient, but I put the username, and what it did is it created the full name, which means that it recognized this person's username to this person's name and last name. That's why. Okay, so I will repeat the send report, and I think we have a little bit of time for a quick poll. All right, now if I have to do the send report again, it's going to take a little bit of time to pull this. Hold on. See, here I'm going to be using the stop transaction one. Okay, in this case, I'm in the wrong T code. Again, if you're not familiar with this, if you are on one page of a T code and you want to go to a new one, you can always do /n and do so like that. That's not important here. We'll be doing tons of that when you guys come to Valencia. All right, again, I'm going to use my variant that I created, which is Daniel, and I'm going to execute. Okay, so in the meantime, and while this loads, I'm going to first mute whoever is unmuted now. Okay, and I'm going to send a quick 3-question quiz through the poll. Okay, it's going to take 5 minutes to answer 3 questions, very short, very easy, and like that I can see who has been paying attention and who has not. Okay, so here we go. In the meantime, while this loads, you guys should have received a notification that says participate in the poll with 3 very simple questions, right? Can you edit a variant in ECC? Can you save a layout within a variant in ECC? And the last one, why would you use the change layout icon? Okay, in the meantime, while you guys answer those simple questions, I'm waiting for the report to load, and I'll show you again how to send an email through ECC. All right, thank you for those who have begun answering these questions. Okay, I can see the majority of you answering correctly. My report in the meantime is already loading. Very good. Okay, so we have another 3 minutes and a bit for you guys to finish the polling. Okay, and it seems like you guys are doing very good. Good. Very easy questions too. These won't be as easy as the pre-assessment, but at least now you're familiar with what a variant means, what a layout means, how you can edit both of them, and how you can use them to your advantage on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we have 3 no answers in the poll for 2 of the questions. Fine, so the majority of you are done. So I'm going to explain really quickly how to send this email again, right? I saw that in the chat, and we'll do that again. Please repeat the send report. So if any of you have missed it, once you have your layout report done, like this one, you can just simply click on the mail recipient here. Again, this is just for me not to go too crazy, trying to match your usernames with your names. I would really appreciate if you guys could write your name here. In this case, all right, Ricky Martin. All right, and here we'll do exercise ECC navigation. Recipient. The only recipient you have to add here is the one that is displayed in your exercise, which is 2130. All you have to do is copy and paste it here. Click on enter so it says it's okay. And then just make sure you click on the check mark here for the 2, express mail, and you send it. Okay, so your name, explanation that is the exercise in ECC, even though I doubt anyone else is going to be sending me any emails this morning through there. So it'll all be exercise related. Make sure you add the recipient, that it doubles up because it's okay, and you simply just click on send. And the report is sent correctly. No. Any questions? I don't think so. Okay. So thank you guys for answering the questions in the poll. Okay, everyone but one person. Perfect. Very good. Good outcome. And it seems like you all have the right answer also. Anything you want me to go through once again? We still have 3 more minutes before we finalize. Good result from the polls. It seems like based on the chat as well, there are not many more questions. But since we still have a little bit of time, if you want me to go through something or repeat something, please let me know. All right, thank you. I'm glad to know it's clear. So remember, use your usernames assigned to you. I don't think this exercise should take too long. For those of you who are not that familiar with ECC, it may seem like a very complex exercise, but trust me, it's not that bad. Remember, just simply with the change layout icon. Here you go. I keep receiving emails. Very good. With the change layout option, you can do everything that we've told you to do in this exercise. Okay? And there's a lot more to do. We'll teach you that when you come to Valencia. There's not enough time in an hour and a half. But at least with what we've taught you, you can complete the exercise and already start playing around with the change layout option, filtering, and such. Okay, well, again, 2 more minutes. Please let me know if I should go through or over anything else. Is the sending the report clear now? Are the layout options clear? How to filter and sort simultaneously? How to create totals, subtotals? There's always more than one thing to do, more than one way to do things in ECC, especially in terms of sorting and filtering. Okay, since I still see people facing their computers, if I remember I mentioned something before that I would explain it at the end. Well, we'll see this when you guys come to Valencia as well, but if you select the column and right-click, you have the options here, right? You have one that's called Show, but it doesn't really say much, it just says Show. In this case, it's not that useful because when you click on Show, what it does is it displays the change layout, which is already here as an icon. But in other T codes, you'll realize that this icon may not be there, as others may not be there. And if you just select a column, right-click and click on Show, that'll display in any T code the information here to sort, filter, view, and display, just by doing that, by clicking on the Show button. Hey, just a small trick that can be very useful when you have a T code that doesn't seem to display change layout. Okay, for the exercise to be submitted now, again, in this case, it was different from the SRM one. The one that I emailed is the actual exercise. The one I just went through step by step is the actual exercise you guys have to do now. Okay, that's why some people did it simultaneously as I was doing it through the system. They were filling it in. So the one you received by email, the ECC Reporting Academy pre-session 2018 here, with this T code is the actual exercise you have to do. Okay, the same filtering that we just did, the same sorting we just did, everything we just did is exactly through there. But of course, with your name, your mission name, sending your own email to this recipient. But that's the exercise, okay? All right, perfect. Thank you guys for joining us. Remember, tomorrow and after tomorrow, you'll have the BI sessions. Very, very important, very interesting information. So please attend those WebEx sessions as well. I'll be waiting for your emails in ECC. And please don't hesitate to contact us by email or phone call. Remember, the workshop has already begun, and we're here to help you. There's another session in the afternoon, remember, a support session. We had some people last week join it, so feel free to join if you need extra help. If you believe that it's all clear and you can do the exercise immediately, you don't have to join the afternoon session. Okay, but if you need some extra help, you can. So thank you all. Enjoy your day.